If you like a good fight on the ice, then St. Thomas University's annual Washburn Cup was the place to be. Now the tradition has changed, and some fans say for the worst. The Washburn Cup is an annual hockey game between the upper and lower campus residences of STU. It started as a friendly hockey match between the Holy Cross and Harrington residences. The game was named after Leroy Washburn, the athletics director at the time, and a well-known athlete and political figure in New Brunswick. The game is held dear to STU students' hearts and gives students a chance to get together for a good old-fashioned hockey game. Over the years, the residences have battled it out on the ice to win the Washburn Cup. In fact, part of the tradition of Washburn is for the players to literally battle it out. Year after year, players square up with their friends during the final period and throw a couple of punches. It's even expected and encouraged by the crowd. Players often pick fights with their friends as a way to have a little fun on the ice. Even though the fights are meant to be fun, they have gotten out of hand in the past. As a result, this year's game was a little different. At this year's game, members of the STU community came to cheer for their team, and others were just there for a good time.
I won't lie to you, I live off campus, so because of that, I'm going to cheer for whoever's winning.
The crowd came prepared with creative signs and chanted their residents' cheers to root for their teams. As the game went on, the crowd became restless. They were ready to see some action.
I'm hoping to see a couple fist fights, like a lot of fist fights.
What came as a bit of a shock for people this year was when the fighting was shut down. Hockey games typically come with a few fouls, especially following the Washburn tradition, but this year's organizers specifically put a no fighting rule in place.
The no fighting rule was because of last year and what happened with, people were drinking while playing on ice. Things got a little rowdy. There were some teeth knocked out. And I guess, the people who are in charge this year were like, okay, because of that and the fighting and encouraging to fight, they didn't really want Washburn to happen.
Players were told to keep the fighting under control or risk a fine for each player that fights and an immediate ending to the game. Despite the new rule, the crowd was anxious for a fight, and so were some of the players. In the final period of the game, 2 players decided to give the crowd what they wanted. Sure enough, as soon as the first punch was thrown, so was the game. The abrupt ending elicited some booing from the crowd. As Upper Campus held the trophy high, the reaction from the students was mixed. Some cheered as the cup was paraded around, others had already begun to leave. Many upper year students felt as if this new rule compromised the tradition of the Washburn Cup.
Next year we'll need more fights. Next year there'll be more fights, it'll be tighter score.
Some argue that the only reason people show up to the game is to see the fights.
Compared to last year where there was 6 or 7 fights and people came out with bloody faces and nose and losing teeth. But this year it wasn't bad. But I know a lot of people were not impressed that there was not a lot of fighting because that's what people go for.
The continuation of the game is already under scrutiny by administration because of the danger of the fights. But now it seems as if the attempt to make the event safer is making the students less interested. Although it seems like the future of the Washburn Cup is in jeopardy, many first-year students who had never been to the game enjoyed themselves even without the fighting. Cameron Solis, first-year student and goalie for Upper Campus, had never seen a fight while on the ice before.
I'm not really into the whole fighting, but it was kind of cool to see, I guess. The side of it being just for fun, the fighting, but the serious fighting is just kind of,
Another first-year student, Lexi Handrahan, says she had played with the boys before and was used to the game being rough.
Personally, if they're not out of hand, I like fights, but in this case we weren't supposed to fight, so.
Even without the fighting, she had fun and scored a goal for her Upper Campus team.
I was surprised. I'm pretty sure the guy that passed it to me was more surprised than me, but it was a good time.
First-year student and Upper Campus coach Tanner Anderson placed the importance on his team having fun rather than fighting.
It's going to be a good game, hopefully no fighting. We're going to try to keep that down as much as possible, and everything's going to carry on Canada.
The lack of fighting was upsetting for some, but spirits remained high for the St. Thomas students.
All in all, I think both the teams fought really hard on the ice gently, and I feel it was a really good game, but I'm really glad Harrington won it for once.
The tradition of the Washburn Cup continues to change as the years pass. These new regulations may deter some students from participating, but many will come back just for the thrill of the game. This is Julia Pisano, Stu Journalism.